Good afternoon, my name is Camden and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I just got my nails done yesterday. This is my first ever set of acrylics. Let me see if I can get it in focus. As you can see, they are very cute little cherries. Let's do a little ASMR check. As I'm sure all of you are aware, February is Black History Month, and in today's video I'm going to be reading some books from Black authors in celebration. Out of all the videos that I have filmed on my channel, it was the hardest for me to pick out the books that I wanted to read in this video, simply because I have so many amazing options that I couldn't really choose what direction I wanted to go in. I couldn't decide if I wanted to do some nonfiction that would cover some really important Black figures in history, if I wanted to do books that would uplift Black joy, if I wanted to do some romance by Black authors because Valentine's Day is in the month of February as well. In the end, I just went with books that look interesting to me and that I have been wanting to get to the most. So I have a selection of books here that are books that I'm going to try to get to in this video. I have quite a few here, but I certainly don't expect to get to all of them. I'm just gonna get to as many as I can and not pressure myself too much because I have a lot going on in my personal life as well right now. The first book that I have is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is an author that I've been hearing a ton about for quite some time, and I really want to finally pick up one of her books, see what all the hype is about. She is a YA mystery thriller author. This book in particular follows a girl who is on the cusp of her big break into the music industry. She is being supported and endorsed by an older artist and producer who very much begins to take advantage of the age difference and the power dynamic between them. When he ends up dead, she becomes the prime suspect in his murder. So I'm really excited for this one. I've heard a lot of amazing things about Tiffany D. Jackson as an author, and I'm really excited to check out one of her books finally. The next book that I have is Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. I've read both of Nicola Yoon's previous books, The Sun is Also a Star and Everything Everything, and I enjoyed both of them. Definitely gravitated more towards the story in The Sun is Also a Star. That's neither here nor there, so I wanted to check out her next book. This, I believe, follows two teenage characters who meet at either a dance studio or a dance academy, I'm not really sure, and hit it off. And I think this one is going to be really sweet and adorable, and I'm really excited to read it. The next book is When Life Gives You Mangoes by Kareen Getten. This book looks like a really sweet and charming middle grade novel. It follows a young girl who befriends the new girl in her school, and they have kind of an unforgettable summer together. I think this one is set in Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm just really excited to read a middle grade. I haven't read one yet this year, and I think I need a little bit of the sweetness and innocence that it provides. I find middle grades are always very simplistic, yet very moving in the way that they are written. So I'm really excited to pick this one up and see what it's all about. The next book that I have is Love in Color by Bolu Babalola. This book contains different mythology retellings from all over the world that center around love. I'm really excited to read this one. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and you know how I feel about mythology retellings, so I'm really excited to see what this one's all about. The last book that I have is an audiobook through my script app. It is Blood Like Magic by Liselle Sambury. This one follows Black witches in a near future setting. I have already started this one and I'm really enjoying it so far. We're basically following our main character Voya as she receives her calling and has a task set out for her to be able to receive her magic, and not only her own magic but save the magic of her family, and her task is to kill her true love. It's obviously got some fantasy elements with the witchcraft and some sci-fi with the near futuristic setting, and I'm really excited to see how this author kind of melds those two genres together. So those are the books that I'm hoping to read in this video. Obviously, I'm not really expecting to get to 5 books in one video, but I do hope to get through all of these in the month of February. So on camera, I will just read as many of them as I can and then finish up the rest off camera. If you want to see what I think of all of these books, I would definitely recommend that you follow my Goodreads. It is in the description down below of every one of my videos. You can follow me there and you will be able to see my final thoughts on all of these books, even the ones that I don't get to in this video. But anyway, today is a very dark and stormy day, and that means it's perfect for reading. I think the first book that I'm going to pick up is Grown and just read through that one. Kind of a dark setting and kind of a dark atmosphere right now, so seems to fit. So I will be back when I have a reading update. Bye. Good morning. I have a reading update for you guys. Let's make some breakfast together and then we will discuss the books. Hello, I'm back with the reading update as promised. I finished Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I know. I think this is the fastest that I have finished a book in quite some time. I read it in a night and a morning, so basically one day but spanned across 2 days. Like I mentioned before, we are following the death of Corey Fields, who is the older musician and producer who is grooming our main character, and she is a suspect in his murder. So we're following them as they fall into this relationship. We're following her as she continuously tries to escape this relationship, and then we're also following this investigation as they're trying to figure out if she is his murderer. It was absolutely pure excellence. I loved everything about this book. I've never read from this author before, but reading her writing was like hitting it off with someone that you just met. Like, you guys can keep up a conversation for hours and hours. That was how I felt reading Tiffany D. Jackson's writing. Like, I could just devour her writing for hours and I didn't want to come up for air, and it was so good. Obviously, like I said before, this one follows a girl as she is entering into the music industry. She is being mentored by a 28-year-old man and she is a 17-year-old girl. There are probably a ton of trigger warnings that come with this book. A lot of troubling content happens in this book, so definitely be aware of the trigger warnings before you enter into it. But it is so worth it if it's something that you can mentally handle. It covers such an important topic. I think this book does a lot to combat some of the damage that books like Twilight did when they are glorifying a relationship between a 100-year-old man and a 17-year-old girl, and the experience difference and power dynamic that relationships like that can have. And this is an important book for teens to read, because I know a lot of teens will think that it's acceptable to date a man this much older than them when they are underage, and it's not. Like I said, I think if this is a book that you can mentally handle, it's really important. And if you have anyone in your life who is around this 16, 17-year-old age, that they could definitely benefit from a lot of the lessons in this book. It showcases a lot of warning signs. It focuses on a lot of the damage that happens because of this relationship in the aftermath for our main character. I think my absolute favorite thing about the book, though, is just how intelligent and wonderful and strong and creative our main character is. I think it's important for any teen girls who did have this experience to hear this reaffirming message that they are strong and intelligent, and what happened to them doesn't define them, and it doesn't mean that they are less intelligent or less perceiving than others. So I appreciate the work that Miss Jackson put into making this character someone who is worth looking up to. And for anyone who is in this situation who reads this book, I think that will be a very positive message to them, that anyone could fall into this situation through coercion and manipulation. Being smart doesn't guarantee you not falling victim to these tactics. That's a lot of things to say about the overall message of this book. Apart from that, just like I said, the writing was beautiful. It felt very accessible. I'm so greatly looking forward to reading every other one of her books, because this one was a absolute masterpiece. Besides this one, I am also about halfway through the audiobook of Blood Like Magic. It's quite a long one, so it's gonna take some time, but I am enjoying it so far. I think it's very well written and the world is very, very well developed. I really enjoy it. So those are the updates so far. I will, of course, continue reading today, and I'll give you an update as soon as I have one. Hello. As you may be able to tell from the bags under my eyes, I stayed up late last night finishing Blood Like Magic by Liselle Sambury. It was very good. I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. This book opens on our main character Voya having her first period, which means that she is ready for her calling. Voya comes from a very long line of witches, and the calling is like a magical ceremony where an ancestor appears and sets a task for the new witch to complete in order to receive their magical gift. The magical system in this book is very blood and sacrifice based, but the Thomas family really prides themselves on being pure witches, which means that they do not use the blood of innocent victims or kill anybody to perform their spells. This really becomes an important theme throughout the book, that they value purity over anything else. So it is really shocking to the family when the task that Voya's ancestor sets for her is for her to kill her first love. The biggest catch here is that if Voya does not complete this task that she's been set, not only will she never receive her magical gift, but her entire family will lose their ability to practice magic. We follow Voya throughout the book as she tries to find someone that she can fall in love with and possibly sacrifice, while also trying to figure out if there is any way around this task that she's been set, because she obviously does not want to kill anybody. Something that I really, really appreciated about this book was the amount of time that the author took building everything up and setting the scene, setting the tone for the book. It really made our characters' motives understandable and made me really feel for what a tough position that Voya was in. Of course, the way that I've described this book, it sounds like the obvious choice would be to choose to never practice magic again. But when you're reading the book, it becomes a lot more complicated. You start to understand why Voya is even considering this option, because the choices in front of her are not easy at all. On top of the character motives and character development throughout the novel, I really felt that the author did such a great job setting the scene for us, explaining the magical system, getting us intrigued into what was happening and the culture around the witches in the Toronto area. She also spent a lot of time setting the scene when it came to technology. This book is set in a very near futuristic setting, and there's a lot of unfamiliar technology that she took the time to describe. There is a lot of interesting dynamics in the political system, in the socioeconomic system. Overall, I really, really love this book. I love the character of Voya. She loves to cook. She is very indecisive, and it's something that comes up a lot, that she can never make a decision. She's very loyal to her family, very loving and caring. And I just felt that she was a very unique voice and such a joy to read from. I haven't really read a character like her before. I thought she was very well developed, a little flawed, but not too much, and just someone that you could really get behind and root for. And I loved all of the interactions between her and her cousins. She's in a very large family that all lives under one roof, and it was really interesting to see her playing off of the dynamics with all of her different cousins and all of their interests and all of their personality traits and stuff like that. It was just really, really joyful book to read. I think the weakest part of the book, though, was the romance. For a book that's plot kind of hinges on the idea of her falling in love with this person, I felt like it was not always totally believable. But then again, at the same time, Voya is trying to force herself to fall in love with somebody so that she has, you know, the perfect victim to kill. So maybe that forced vibe was what the author was going for. I'm not really sure. I just definitely felt like the romance was like the weakest part of the book and the least developed part of the book. I feel like it's been a while since I read a like true fantasy that I enjoyed as much as I enjoyed this one. I'm really excited to read the next book when it comes out later this year. And overall, yeah, definitely check it out if it sounds interesting to you. Now, I'm gonna take a nap. I'm so tired. I will talk to you guys later. Hello. It's a little bit later, and I think I'm gonna go down to the river to read for a little while. I just feel like this vlog has been very much all like in the guest bedroom of my apartment, chit-chatting with you, and we haven't really done a lot of interesting stuff. So I think you need a change of scenery. I think I need a change of scenery. So let's do that. I'm going to bring the book that I'm currently reading, which is Love and Color. I've been reading this one kind of interspersed throughout the other couple of books that I've read in this vlog, just like a couple stories every night. So I'm about 200 pages into this one. There's about a little less than 100 pages to go. So I'm hoping I can finish this one today, wrap the vlog up today, because we need to get to editing. So anyway, to the river. Hello. As you can see, I'm back in bed with my book propped up next to me. This is a very common look for me these days. I just finished Love and Color by Bolu Babalola, and I have some thoughts for you guys. I'm going to give this book a 3 out of 5 star, just kind of like a middle of the road rating. There were some really great stories in here. There were some really forgettable ones as well. In fact, I just finished this book like 20 minutes ago, and I was looking through the table of contents to kind of refamiliarize myself with all of the stories in here, and I couldn't remember some of the plots and some of the characters in this book already. Something that I always try to consider and keep in the back of my mind when I'm trying to figure out how to rate short stories like this is whether or not I would like to read a full-length novel about these characters and in this setting and with this plot line. And for a lot of these, the answer is no, and I wasn't that invested or interested, but there were definitely some standout stories. I will put on screen each of the stories and what I individually would rate them. The stories in here that I definitely gravitated to more were the ones that felt more timeless and like they were set in a different time period. I really liked the ones that I did not connect with as much were definitely the ones that were set in modern day. There were a couple that I liked that come to mind, but most of them felt a little bit forced and also kind of a little bit at odds with this author's writing style. I think she has a really beautiful lyrical writing style, and when she leaned into that and wrote these types of love stories for the ages type of stories, I felt that that really suited her style. But when she wrote things that were modern and had all these types of pop culture references, it just felt a little at odds and it didn't work for me as well. I just felt that the ones that were in different time periods were definitely her best work in this novel. The other thing that I had an issue with in this book was just how similar some of the plots were. A lot of them revolved around famous people falling in love. There was a story with an actor, there was a story with a famous photographer, there was a story with a highly powerful businesswoman who was like famous, and it just felt like there were so many different stories that had main characters who were like rich and powerful. I think for a book that promotes itself as being like different love stories from all around the world and all different times and all different types of love, like it really was a disservice to have so many similar characters in it and also so many similar love stories. A lot of them were about couples just meeting each other and having kind of like a meet cute instead of focusing on stories of love in all its different stages of life. I think there was a lot more this author could have done with the concept. Overall, I would just say that this book was okay, but definitely Bolu Babalola is an author to watch. I think she has a lot of talent and that she will do a lot of great things down the road. So I'm definitely going to pick up whatever she puts out next. I'm hoping she'll put out a full-length novel at some point. That is my thoughts on this book. But anyway, with the completion of Love and Color, that is pretty much going to be it for this video. As always, I like to remind you guys to make sure that you are reading from Black authors, that you are diversifying the books that you read. No matter what genre you gravitate toward, there is always minority groups that are publishing within that genre, and make sure that you are doing your part to seek out those authors and supporting them. As well, make sure that you are looking through your subscriptions every now and again. Make sure that you are following Black creators, getting their perspectives, and if you are reading books from Black authors, make sure to prioritize reading reviews from Black reviewers, because their perspective is of course going to be more valuable than someone who is not in their community. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I apologize that it's coming out a week later than intended, but I am unfortunately in the process of moving, which obviously takes a toll. It's a bummer. But anyway, I will see you guys next Friday. I hope you have an amazing week. Bye!